first one is the Education Network. Dr. Fenoy.
Yes, at this time we'll have Ms. Claudia Shea and our Chief of Staff, Amity Schuyler, come forward to talk us through this process.
Good evening. I'll click for you. How about you want to switch places? Okay, I'll click. I've never clicked before. No. There we go. Bingo. That's the one. Very good. Good evening. You have a full communications briefing coming for an August workshop, and the good news is that tonight is not that night, because I know that everybody's been working hard to pay attention with some very deep topics. Claudia's going to update you on some long overdue policies that have needed to be updated with the Education Network. I remember my fourth day in the door, Mr. Shaw said to me, "Have you looked at how old those policies are about the television channel?" And sure enough, they were quite old. So Ms. Shea, in her role as the manager for the station, has gone through them and she's updated them where necessary. So tonight's presentation is just a summary of those updates.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, so we'll go right to the first slide. And of course, we're going to begin with the scope of our policy. The Education Network, of course, is the not-for-profit education television station owned and operated by the School District of Palm Beach County. I did a little research. Fewer than 300 districts throughout the country actually have their own designated television station. And that is just such a magnificent thing for us, because as the 10th largest district, we have such a great means now to get all of our communication out. We don't have to have anyone in our community be disenfranchised because they can't get information. We're just such an enormous tool. Way back when we started, or even just going back to when this policy was changed the last time, which was 2003, we had one channel, and we weren't on 24 hours a day, and we didn't utilize social media. So now all of the stories that we create, all the training videos that we create, all of our graduations go through so many means right now, through social media, through YouTube, through Twitter, through our newsletters. So we're getting our information out to so many people who never received it before. And that's just a wonderful thing for us, and we're going to continue to grow on that. The function, of course, is to enhance the school district's public information and communication system. And when we think about technology and how it's evolved since 2003, think about 2003 when this policy was last written. Some of us were using rabbit ears. You know, we had fewer than maybe 100 stations on our televisions. We were analog. We weren't digital as we are now. And we didn't have as many towers. We just didn't have the technology. We didn't have the scope. So much has changed. And so, Mr. Shaw, I personally promise you that it will not be another 15 years before we come to you again, because I can't even imagine at the breakneck speed that technology is changing. I mean, I think we have to be back in 2 or 3 years. So the key proposed revisions to the policy include updating references to what we are, who we are. We were Channel 19 on Adelphia Cable. I would love to still be Channel 19, but the Broward County School District has taken over that channel in exchange for us getting 2 channels. So we also now broadcast on Comcast. You remember Adelphia. Comcast, of course, took over Adelphia Cable. So we're on 234 and 235 right now. Our friends at home are watching you on channel 234. We're also on AT&T UVerse, channel 99. We also have a host of sub-channels. So we have all of these fabulous closed-circuit channels that are also going out to all of our schools so that our kids are able to see NASA Select and other educational programming at all times. We also wanted to, can you go back just one? Sure. Thanks. Clarification that that T.E.N no longer operates as part of the Department of Instructional Support. And again, Chairman Shaw, you know so much more about the history than I do, but the Education Network has been under so many umbrellas, including Safe Schools. Chairman Shaw was also at T.E.N for quite a while and knows the great history of the station itself. And now, finally, we're where we should have really been all along, under the Department of Communications, and we're growing and we're evolving daily. Other revisions to the policy, we're just doing the big buckets here, but really in the policy, when I'm sure you've read it, we talk about how we're now multicultural, multi-language. You know, so much has changed in that. But we also have references to video transmission from 3 broadcast towers. I don't want to get too technical for you guys, but you've all seen the Boynton Beach Tower. That's the one behind our station. That's a 390-foot tower. That's a transmission tower, which means information goes out from there. So we are responsible for that tower. During the last hurricane, for example, we lost one of the light fixtures on top, which probably doesn't sound like a big deal, but when then you have to get somebody to climb that, it's $1,500 to get somebody to climb that tower to go to the top and change a light fixture. So, I mean, all of that we do to stay in compliance with the FCC. You have to have dual lighting on top of a tower that's that tall, so that airplanes can see you. So we have that tower. We're also responsible for the Belle Glade Tower, which is by West Tech, and which is there. On board meeting nights, it's awesome because anybody who wants to speak to you all can do it remotely. They don't have to drive all the way here. So it's just a great opportunity for our friends in the Glades to be able to converse with you guys. The Riviera Beach Tower is owned and operated by Florida Power and Light, and we do have equipment that is hanging on that. Our school police is going to be populating it even more as they expand their radio transmissions. The other tower that we do have is a receiving tower, and that's in Lake Worth. That's the one that's operated by Comcast. So when we send out a signal, they receive it there, and then that's how it gets to Comcast and to the TVs at home. We also have the addition of language which expressly states that T.E.N is primarily responsible for compliance with the rules and the maintenance of the FCC-issued EBS licenses, and this is huge. That's a lot of money to the district, the Educational Broadband Services licenses. The great news for you guys, because this is going to be a short presentation, and I always want to, and I always tell Amity, when I give her everything that's going on, I always say I want to give you a teaspoon of sugar here at the end. So Blair Littlejohn has just been so wonderful in the process. Every 10 years, our FCC license comes up for renewal, and we have to make sure that we're doing all of the things that we're supposed to be doing. We have to make sure that we have a certain number of hours in our day that are 11 hours a day, that we have to have educational programming, not just the regular, our stories, which are so fantastic, but also that. And we also have to make sure that we're using our broadband responsibly in the way we're supposed to. So anyway, Blair just went through that whole process, and the good news is our license has been renewed, which means we were totally compliant, and so that's good for another 10 years. So that's where we are with that. I also want to let you know that pretty soon you're going to be seeing the final Kindergarten Corner program of the year. So we are actively recruiting the class of 2031. So if anyone knows anyone entering kindergarten, just ring me up because we need to know about that. Anyway, I wanted to be brief for you guys. I mean, I know you all have the policy in front of you, and at this time, I would welcome any questions.
Mr. Barbieri.
Claudia, I just want to thank you for a great job you guys do. I mean, it's been great working with you over the years. And that guy that climbs a tower, 390-foot tower, for $1,500.
Yeah.
He must be mentally challenged, because I don't know who would do that for $1,500. So.
I can't imagine his life insurance.
And you said some of our friends are home watching this on Channel 234.
Yeah.
They need to get a life. But look at Dr. Sheffield. I mean, she's not even watching this. She's and she's sitting here. But thank you for all you do. Appreciate it.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Barbieri.
Mrs. Whitfield.
I just have to say that when I was at graduation, I got to meet a couple of our Kindergarten Corner amazing actors and actresses, and I was actually literally like a fangirl. I was like, oh my goodness, I have seen you. You're amazing. You guys do such a good job. So I think you're probably going to show some of that. But I was super, I was actually thrilled to meet them, and they're amazing. And thank you guys.
And they've grown so much over the last year. I know.
They were awesome.
And Claudia, thank you so much for all of the improved work you've done in the Glades region. You're everywhere. Your camera people are doing those stories. It's been absolutely fabulous. And so I just appreciate everything that you're doing. Even though you're coming out of Boynton, you're a little bit of everywhere, all over Palm Beach County, and especially your work in the Glades region this year has been excellent.
Thank you. We take great pride in that. And I've also started sending all of you, but I've started this already, a list of the stories that took place in your districts, because I know that you guys are busy and you don't get to see them all. So within the next week or so, you'll all have a list of all the stories, and then my personal challenge will be to do more in each of these districts for next year, so I can say, you know what, we did 25 more in your district than we did last year.
Mrs. Brill?
Thank you, and I just want to chime in on all of the appreciation and thanks. And I do have to tell you that I have gotten comments over the past year about how upbeat our stories are, how much fun they are. And a couple of years ago, we sat as a board saying that we have to market ourselves. We have to market ourselves against the charter schools and the private schools that are out there. And the best way we're doing that is with your work.
Thank you.
So I appreciate it. I love sharing it on social media. People love seeing it. I get the most likes when people take a look at what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Andrews?
And I have to do a shout out for Rick Blackwell, my man.
awesome.
He is everywhere, from Cloiston to Pahokee Canal Point, all during the night and day. He's out there. And so thank you, Rick.
What's so great, too, about the Glades is we get the principals out there are they're very good about communicating what's going on, and that's how we get most of our news, when the schools themselves communicate to the communications department, hey, we have this great new academy or this wonderful program going on, and so that's where we get most of our stories. But they're very, very proactive in the Glades about telling us what's going on. I was sitting down yesterday with the principal at West Tech, and she was telling me a little bit of what's going on. I know you've got your roundtable discussion coming up, so we'll be out there and bringing that live as well.
All right. I can't let this one go without a comment. Since this district has been in the television business, we've had two policies up until today. One was the original policy that was written when we had instructional television, which essentially was in-house broadcasting in the schools and a radio station.
Wow.
And then in 2003, when we revised the policy, we had moved into, at the time, it was high-tech world, but it is really refreshing, and I really appreciate the work that was done to update this policy, because it was really, really outdated in time to do it. The only thing I'd like for you to do before this comes back to final is make sure that the policy's written that gives the district the authority to do what we want to do, be creative and think out of the box, but still make sure we're in compliance with FCC rules, because I know there's some pretty tight regulations. Right. But if you'll check that, and then if there's any change that needs to be made, please bring that back to us. So
Absolutely.
Dr. Fenoy.
So, in addition to all the wonderful accolades, the board should also be aware, not that I need it, but Claudia is my personal makeup artist.
Not that he needs it.
She does a great job of getting the shine off of my head, so I wanted to put that out there for the community.
And an early happy birthday to you as well. And why don't you take Friday off to celebrate?
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Thanks for all the tremendous support. I really appreciate it. And please, please contact me directly if you think that we need more of anything. Thank you.
Thanks. Our next policy is Student Code of